Hello Doctor Who fans and welcome to my next Doctor Who review, where today I review The Chase, starring William Hartnell as the first Doctor. So, The Chase, it has been a while since I've reviewed Doctor Who. I reviewed the Space Museum about a month or two ago. I can't remember when I reviewed it, it was a while ago. So, this one has been delayed for various reasons. Firstly, due to the fact that I've been very busy, and also partly to do with motivation. You know, I've tried to get myself motivated to watch Doctor Who. So, and it's directed by Richard Martin, written by Terry Nation, and it is also the final story to feature Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright as Doctor Who companions. Yeah. This show would change a lot after this. So, the story of The Chase is that basically the Doctor and his companions, they emerge on Skaro and then they find themselves caught up with the Daleks. And then they end up going on this wild goose chase throughout time and space to various different locations. And it becomes a race to basically survive, where they encounter various things like a haunted house, these weird plant creatures, the aroids I think they're called, these fish-looking creatures, a survivor named Stephen Taylor, and of course the Daleks, and these other things called the Mechanoids. And it is a pretty epic story, and it is, of course, it is epic for the reasons alone for the story, but also for the simple reason of that it is Ian and Barbara's final story. So yeah, it's been an interesting one to review, this one. I think The Chase is a great Doctor Who story. It is great. It's not perfect. I can't give it a 10 out of 10, but it is very good. And what a fitting way for Ian and Barbara to go out, I must say, seeing the Daleks. I love the story. The story is just great. It's just so much fun. It's called The Chase, and very appropriately, there is a huge chase, as the title suggests. It is what it says on the tin. There's no false advertising with this story. There's always a sense of stakes, a sense of tension. You always feel like the Daleks are kind of one step ahead of the Doctor and his companions, and there's a constant sense of tension, and I really like that. And all four of them kind of don't know what to do, and they also come across a robotic clone of the Doctor, which proves to be quite an intense moment. This is a very intense story. It's quite, as well as it being quite fun, it is quite intense and action-packed when it needs to be. I think the cast, as usual, are very good. William Hartnell as the Doctor gives a very charming performance. And also he does perform well as the robot. I must say, though, towards the end, obviously, he obviously changes his tune when Ian and Barbara basically tell him that they want to go home. And he, obviously, he's not very happy about that because he's losing two of his best friends. But and originally he's like, no, he won't help them fly the machine to get home. But in the end, he obviously has to respect their wishes and he lets them go home. And it's a very sad moment at the very end for him when he says, I shall miss them. Yes, I shall miss them. Which is just quite sad. I'll talk more about the exit of the two characters later. But, you know what, screw it. Ian and Barbara, this is their final story, and they are both great. They get a lot to do, and their exit is handled really well. It's not like Susan's one, where it was sad, well, it is sad for the Doctor, but for them, it's more the sense of relief, which is what I was very surprised at. Sorry, I can't speak. When the two of them arrive back in 1965, they're just overjoyed, and we see a photo montage of them in London by Nelson's column, sorry, and when they're on the bus as well, and it's a lovely ending for them. They're home. It's nice that they're home. They feel happy, and then obviously we cut back to the TARDIS where the Doctor and Vicky are still, and obviously that's quite sad for him, really. But I thought their exit was very good, and I'm going to miss them because I really like them as characters. I grew very attached to them over the past 1 3/4 seasons. Well, there's not much of season 2 left, so they've been there since the beginning. So it really is a shame to see them go, especially after this long. But hey ho, we still have Vicky, and yeah. I think Vicky is also very good in this episode. This story. There are moments when she's on her own and they have to go and rescue her. So she's not as proactive in this story as she was in the previous story. But that's to be expected because this story is really about Ian and Barbara because it is their final story, as well as the Doctor, of course. One other character to mention is Stephen Taylor. The introduction to Stephen Taylor. He's a cool character. He's quite enthusiastic. He's just happy to see somebody because he's been stuck for 2 years in that place, confined. He seems like a nice guy and he gels with the group quite well. If my memory serves me correctly, somebody told me that he is to become a more prominent character in the show. If that is the case, then great. I mean, I haven't seen any of the stories after this. So yeah, and I thought he was good. He was very likable. There's a great scene when he's helping them lower Vicky down on a rope. That was cool. And there's a lot of good action spectacle as well when the Daleks are battling the mechanoids. That was something to behold. And I think the Daleks in this story are great. They aren't. I don't think they're quite as menacing as they are in Dalek Invasion of Earth. But I mean that was a more intense story. But this was still pretty damn good. I mean, they you definitely felt them. But because there was quite a few other things, they weren't the scariest thing in this story. There's this weird section with this haunted house. That was the scariest bit. That was weird. There's like a Dracula guy. There's this weird woman who's like screaming. She was a bit weird. And those fish-looking creatures are kind of weird. But and also the music I think is wonderful. The music score is very well done. I think it's very well directed by Richard Martin. He's created a nice sense of scope, and I love the voice of the mechanoids. They're really cool. Because this is ultimately, as much as it is a big epic chase through time and space, it is ultimately a character piece. Because this is the last time we're ever going to see Ian and Barbara in Doctor Who. So they're trying to make the most of the time they have left with these characters. So we see a lot of the four of them together in this one. I mean, particularly, you know, as the story comes to its end. I mean, the Daleks just kind of just. Yeah, they are good, but towards the end, we don't see as much of them in the last part. But that's to be expected. The only thing I would say about the chase is that it is a little bit too long. I don't think you needed the first part. Really, the first part of the story was nothing. It didn't add anything. It just felt like filler, to be honest. I mean, you know, the first part of this story didn't really cut to the chase, if you'll pardon the pun. But so I just think you might as well be better off starting with part 2 of this story, because that's when the chase really begins. The first part is just set up, and ultimately it doesn't really set anything up, to be honest, other than the fact that the Daleks are back and that they're on Skaro. I like the sense of hopping. You know, there's a lot of location hopping in this story, And I think that works to its credit, because for a long time up to this point, there have been many stories that have just remained confined in one planet or one area. Not all of the stories, but a lot of them. So this one kind of it kind of tried to subvert the formula in that sense, which is great. And I think it's very good, despite the unnecessary first part. It's a great story. So I couldn't quite give it a 10. I don't think it's quite worthy of a 10. But I'm going to score The Chase a very well-deserved 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's pretty much my review of The Chase. It's also got a great sense of production design as well. I like the look of it. It's very good, and I'm interested to see how the show evolves after this, because obviously Vicky is still with the Doctor, but Barbara and Ian are now gone, and that's it. And if we are to see more of Stephen, then that would be interesting. So yeah, The Chase was really, really good. And on a final note, you know, William Russell and Jacqueline Hill, I salute you. Well done for playing two of the most iconic characters in Doctor Who, Ian and Barbara. Well done. Thank you very much. We will miss you. We miss you. We miss you already. And you know, your time in the show will never be forgotten. You know, those first 2 seasons, we will never forget you. So yeah, I'm kind of sad to see them go, but I know obviously that the show will evolve and change, and companions will leave and new ones will come in. You know, they have to refresh the show at some point, you know. So yeah, that's my review of The Chase. Please leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought of it, and stay tuned for my next review, which will be The Time Meddler. So until then, thank you guys all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya.